Good morning and welcome to Cincinnati Issues. I'm Lincoln Ware, and of course we're here every Sunday morning, 6:30 on Star 64. We've got a great show lined up for you today. My first guest, none other than Thaddaus Dawson Jr., and we've got Micaiah Dawson with us with the 10,000 black appraisers. Yeah, that's a whole lot. Yes, and we're going to talk about the appraisal situation in America, not just in Cincinnati, but in the United States. Thaddaus Dawson, you've been out there, you're an appraiser. What's going on?
So a lot's going on. Thank you for having us on the show. In 2022, there was a appraisal discrimination case here in Cincinnati with Mr. Terry Horton.
Terry Horton, I remember that case, and he lost they appraised him like $100,000 less than what his property was worth.
And so what we did was a reconsideration of value, and the case got picked up by the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. Mm-hmm. They then referred it to HUD and the Justice Department, and it's still in litigation today. And so, but since that time, because of the publicity that case got and a lot of stuff that was going on at the time, mm-hmm. we started getting calls all across the country. And so we started going across the country to work on these cases and starting mm-hmm. to advocate. Since then, we started 10,000 Black Appraisers in June of 2023, so the baby will be mm-hmm. 2 years mm-hmm. old this year. And since that time, we have been members. The 10,000 Minority Appraisers Foundation are members of the Appraisal Foundation. We were voted in the end of 23, and as of last year, we have the first ever appraisal apprenticeship program mm-hmm. in the country, certified through the U.S. Department of Labor. So we've got two solutions in the appraisal discrimination space. The very first one is the reconsideration of value. That's a process that we utilize with Terry Horton, but that's a process that we've also championed. And then HUD picked up the reconsideration of value, and as a part of the PAVE initiative, it started being offered last year. Okay. Well, it was just rescinded in March of this year, March 2019, with the PAVE initiative being rescinded. Mm-hmm. However, I am suggesting that people start to advocate and ask their municipalities, their legislators, to include the reconsideration of value, because it is the best process to fight and combat appraisal discrimination and racism, because it allows people to be heard if they feel like they've been undervalued.
And that happens a lot. I think I saw maybe 60 Minutes had a show on that, or one of the network news shows had something on appraisal discrimination. And I know of a person that's getting ready to have their condo appraised. I said, well, you better maybe have a white woman open the door for her, and maybe they'll give you a good price for it. But you shouldn't have to do that.
You shouldn't. It's called whitewashing, and so
yes.
that and the appraisal industry has been in denial.
Yes,
they've also been under attack. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the appraisals that we've seen, the bias really isn't bias. The appraisal system is outdated. It hasn't been updated in 50 years. Yeah. So we're able to modernize the appraisal process through data science, using evidence-based, data-driven analysis. But we're also able to do the reconsideration of value. It's not only fair for the homeowner or buyer, but it's fair for the appraiser, because it doesn't accuse the appraiser of racism or bias. But what it does do is ask him to explain his work.
Right.
But you have to be able to articulate the argument objectively. Now, where they water down the process is where they put it back on the homeowner. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not an appraiser. And so it's really unfair, because if you give the appraiser some information that is not relevant, then you only get one shot at it. Now, who has the best process is the VA. The VA offers reconsideration of value as well as Tidewater. And so what the Tidewater does is, if your appraisal is coming in undervalued, you give the lender a notice, and they can provide additional information within 48 hours. Okay. So we are advocating for the reconsideration of value to be added back in to the process. Now, what hasn't happened is, since it's been rescinded, nobody's really said anything about it. So you don't know what they're going to do or not.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and hear from Micaiah later on. Plus, later on in the show, we're going to find out how we can maneuver to get a new arena in Cincinnati. We'll talk to Jay Kincaid later on in the show. Stick around. And we are back, and we're talking to Thaddaus Dawson Jr. and Micaiah Dawson. And what part does Micaiah play in all this? He's a young fella, so is he coming up to become an apprentice or what?
So Micaiah is actually my nephew.
Okay.
And so when we came up with the space solutions to solve appraisal bias, the first one is reconsideration of value. The second one is educating and empowering the next generation by utilizing data science, evidence-based, data-driven analysis. Micaiah is actually an ADI recipient, and he just recently completed all his courses and requirements. And so, of course, he knows more about the whole process.
Well, yeah, and I want to ask you, being a young guy, how did you become interested in becoming an appraiser?
So being related to Thaddaus, in our family, real estate has always been a big interest, and so it's always something that I've wondered is how do you assign value? Who assigns value? And it's a really powerful question and one that's really driven me to be a part of the appraisal profession. That's the main reason why I've joined.
Okay, and do you participate in that drone? They send up the drones now to do the appraisals and everything like that?
Absolutely.
I figured since you're a young guy, you play those video games, you know how to work those drones.
Well, you know, that is the next step, actually. As Thaddaus has said, when it comes to the evolution of the appraisal field, introducing new technologies like drones, the incorporation of data science, all of that is a part of the future. And so that's definitely part of my learning as I'm moving further down this pathway of the profession.
Now, so what does a homeowner do? They say, you know, even here in the county, they get an appraisal on their property. They don't think it's fair. Do they hire an appraisal to come out and have something on paper to present to the county, or what?
So typically, you can hire us at 10,000 Black Appraisers for the reconsideration of value. But the reconsideration of value not only works when you feel like you've been undervalued on the mortgage side, if it works when you feel like you've been overvalued on the tax side. So one thing that Black people don't do is appeal their property taxes. So we are here to be able to do that, and then to let people know, or let the Appraisal Foundation know, that you want to continue reconsideration of value. The Appraisal Foundation is having its Board of Directors meeting here May the 16th, and we're trying to get Terry Horton and others to come out to let them know that there are real people that are affected by this policy and how important that it is. And so you met Daniel early this morning. He's our partner with Journey Drones, and Journey Drones is doing the drone training in conjunction with us for that, to advance and modernize the process.
Because, I mean, everything is technology nowadays. It's not like the old days where a guy might even climb up on the roof with a ladder. Those days are pretty much almost gone, I guess.
Yes, it is. And so again, you can eliminate the bias by taking the subjectivity out of it, and the data science is there. And with the new UAD data set, you can isolate any price per square foot for any zip code in the country. So it's just a matter of utilizing that. And one of the things that FHFA just recently did was took a study of 1 million appraisals. And then with that, they had over 4 million comparable sales. And only 10% of the appraisals that were done utilized market conditions adjustments. So that means 90% are not utilizing, and that 90% will go a long way to mitigating undervaluation.
Micaiah, do you try to talk any of your friends into getting into the appraisal business?
Absolutely. If there's one thing that the appraisal industry has lacked for a very long time, it is diversity and representation. And so whether it's friends, whether it's youth that I work with, it's my encouragement to them to start to even consider the profession, because it's one worthy of being done.
And how do people reach you if they want to reach you?
678-933-1598.
Say that again real slow, a little slower.
678-933-1598. Or you can go to our website, 10kma.org. That's 10kma.org. And our 10K BA 10,000 Black Appraisers website is under construction. It'll be up in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so, and you travel around the country. You had some involvement with the black farmers also.
Yes, so we
well, hold on. We're going to have to get you back again in a few weeks to talk about the black farmers and their plight. But thank you for joining me this morning, both of you.
Thank you for having us.